us. Law enforcement say it is the #1 non-natural killer of people in the Northland. Drugs.
The drug epidemic is a crisis across the region. Just this month, 54-year-old Waylon James Bosto Sr. from Duluth was arrested as part of an investigation by the Lake Superior Violent Offender Task Force. He's charged with felony first-degree drug sales, accused of having more than 150 grams of fentanyl packaged for sale. Now, this case, like so many drug cases, are on the rise in St. Louis County.
I sit down with law enforcement and prosecutors who tell me it is a complex problem and it needs a comprehensive solution.
Mayo Clinic ambulance, respond to the warming center for unresponsive male, not breathing at this time. Working on CPR at this time at 7:27.
So I would say that's less than 3.
So, and how much would this sell for in the streets today?
As far as fentanyl goes, that could be $200 to $300.
Fentanyl has become the #1 drug moving in and out of the Twin Ports. All drugs confiscated goes through Division Commander Wade Rash's department with the St. Louis County Sheriff's Office.
Now the widespread presence of fentanyl, they're almost mixing it, in everything, is probably the most disturbing trend.
While the presence of drugs is not new to St. Louis County, authorities say the explosion of drug sales and drug trafficking is.
It's the #1 non-natural killer of people in our county.
30-year law enforcement veteran Sheriff Gordon Ramsey says his philosophy when it comes to drug crime is strict enforcement.
We don't want the reputation that this is a place you can go and sell drugs without any consequences.
Authorities say this area has become a source city for drugs in recent years, seeing some of the highest drug overdoses in the state. According to the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, in counties similar in size to St. Louis County, our region reported the most drug overdoses. In 2023, nearly 3 times more than its counterparts. That same year, the county's largest city, Duluth, reported 479 overdoses. 47 of them resulted in deaths. The alarming numbers forcing the U.S. Attorney's Office to make a historic move. During a press conference last spring, then former U.S. Attorney Andrew Luger announced Nicole Carter to become the first federal prosecutor to be located outside of the state capitol.
The Twin Ports, unfortunately, is really targeted by drug trafficking organizations.
Carter spent her 20-year career as a prosecutor for St. Louis and Carleton counties before being promoted. She says the Twin Ports is a hot spot for drug crime because of its location.
We have major highways here. It's an easy place to traffic in. So we are right on the border. A bridge separates us from our neighboring state, Wisconsin. So it's easy for people to maybe do something in Duluth and then go over to another state.
But with her new federal role in the Twin Ports, her agency can assist in a more robust way to target sources and prosecute drug crime.
We make this an unfriendly place for them to do business.
Okay.
We do that by combining all of our resources and really targeting these people who are targeting our communities.
According to Carter, drug trafficking is complex with many factors. One big factor in the drug epidemic in the Northland is supply and demand. She says for 1 gram of fentanyl sold, dealers make $150 here, whereas in the metro area, that same amount of drug is $30.
Unfortunately, we see that sort of throughout our county. Even if we go to northern St. Louis County, drug prices might be higher in Virginia or Hibbing than they are here in Duluth.
A collaboration between federal resources and local law enforcement is needed to help combat the problem, something Sheriff Ramsey agrees with. He says the Lake Superior Violent Offender Task Force, consisting of both federal and local law enforcement, helped to track drugs coming in and out of the region by vehicle transport, marine vessel, and mail.
I think the public would be shocked if they knew the amount of drugs that are going through the mail.
Ramsey says they saw the evolution of drugs going through the Postal Service, FedEx, and UPS during COVID. Another trend his department is seeing when collecting drugs, the prevalence of fentanyl in almost all drugs sold on the streets.
So this is meth mixed with fentanyl.
As part of the chain of custody, the evidence has to go from the packaging room to the evidence storage room through these lockers. From the packaging room to the storage room, the evidence stays in this room for the duration of the case. In recent years, fentanyl pills were popular. Now Commander Rash says dealers have mixed the powder form with meth and cocaine. Still addictive, still deadly. A death doesn't scare them.
If I sell to you and then you use it and die, your friends, acquaintances, people that know that you purchased it from me are going to come to me to buy because they know that it's so powerful.
The fact that we have habitual drug dealers that have been arrested and on ankle monitoring or waiting for their next court appearance, and they're out there dealing drugs again, is demoralizing for our efforts.
Sheriff Ramsey says the partnership with the courts is essential to solving the problem.
That accountability piece is important because it sends a message to these drug dealers that that is not going to be tolerated in this community. To have a federal prosecutor here is extremely beneficial.
Already, it's proving to help. In just under a year, the federal partnership and infrastructure to reduce drug crime in the Twin Ports is driving down numbers. Remember that same graphic from earlier? In 2024, St. Louis County saw a big drop with 43 drug overdoses. That downward trend was also noted in Duluth. Last year, authorities reported 279 overdoses with 20 drug-related deaths.
How do you get ahead of this? Will we ever get ahead of this?
My hope is that we will get ahead of this because I think that we are better at spotting trends. We are quicker with the data that we have. Collaboration is something that allows us to sort of spot those trends quickly and adapt and change our response.
Nicole Carty says that her role in Duluth will hopefully set a precedent to expand and add more federal prosecutors outside of the Twin Cities. Now, both she and Sheriff Ramsey says that drug treatment, housing, addiction services are also key parts in solving this epidemic. Places like Minnesota Adult and Teen Challenge and the Freedom Center are organizations that can help. And they say that you all at home can help as well, simply by saying something if you see something suspicious in your neighborhoods.